Anyway, call the meeting to order at 12:03, and time for roll call.
Mr. Egan.
Here.
Ms. Lasky. Here. Jeff Dance.
Here.
Mr. Becker. Ms. Goodman. Ms. Kaminsky. Here. Adam Dance.
Here,
And the location?
Los Angeles.
Okay. All right, well, that takes us right to the election of officers. We really don't have a lot of people here to...
You can still nominate them even though they're not here.
Yeah. So I say we nominate everyone who's not here. And let it go from there.
Well, Mike, you've done a great job as chair. I will nominate you to fulfill
Second.
another term as chair.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you.
second.
Yes, if you will
I'll-
have that.
I'll do that. Do we need to have a vote on that?
Yeah, always.
Okay.
Roll call.
So Adam can't vote,
Can't
right?
vote,
Great.
correct.
Okay. Mr. Egan.
Yep.
Lasky.
Yes.
Mr. Dance.
Yes.
Mr. Becker. Ms. Goodman. Ms. Kaminsky.
Yes.
Adam Dance. Okay.
Vice Chair.
Who is that now, George? Oh,
Right here.
Mr. Egan's done such a good job, I haven't had to do anything.
I'll nominate, since it's a breeze job, I'll nominate Owen
Okay.
for vice chair.
I'll second that.
Mr. Egan.
Yes.
Ms. Lasky.
Yes.
Mr. Dance.
Yes.
Mr. Becker, Ms. Goodman, Ms. Kaminsky.
Yes.
Okay. And Adam, who's on there, can't vote.
And Treasurer?
We have a treasurer and name and then a reporting treasurer, don't we, or do we not?
No, I'm the treasurer, you have to do
Yeah,
it,
it's
so-
on the old list here as Treasurer, so
Oh.
Susan, you're automatically kinda it, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Do we still go through a vote?
Yeah.
Okay. I nominate Susan.
Second.
Mr. Egan.
Yes.
Mr. Egan.
Yes.
Ms. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Dance?
Yes.
Mr. Becker, Ms. Goodman, Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Okay.
Jeff, can I nominate you as Secretary?
I suppose so.
Second.
There we go. Come
Yeah,
on.
sorry.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Ms. Lasky?
Yes.
Jeff Dance?
Yes.
Mr. Becker, Ms. Goodman, Ms. Kaminsky,
Yes.
and Adam Dance.
All right, thanks. All right, the approval of the agenda, we have it in front of us here. Anything
Changes?
to add or subtract to that?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
And I think that we can just do it, all together. Everyone, okay with that? Say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Anybody waiting for a public comment?
Adam wants to say something.
Okay,
He kind of falls in between.
okay.
The
Pat?
other one that's online.
Okay.
I'm here, but may I speak during the meeting, or do I have to limit my remarks at this point?
It's your meeting.
Yeah.
You know, he can't vote on anything.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but that's the only restriction is the voting, as I understand, for a public meeting.
Oh, okay, then I won't make any
This-
comment.
No one's going to, probably challenge the process. I mean, it's just,
I guess I would suggest we treat him like he's a person of the public,
Uh-huh,
since he can't vote,
uh-huh,
Right.
but we often let public people join in conversation, so
certainly,
I don't think he should be excluded,
right,
but we should think of him in that light, I think,
okay,
just to be on the safe side.
okay. Sorry, Adam, this is kind of new territory for us, we haven't had anybody, phone in a meeting in a while, so. Okay, did you get all that?
I did, all set, move on, sounds good.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, now, the minutes from the last meeting, any changes? I didn't see anything jump out at me. I hear a motion to approve the minutes.
motion to approve the minutes of the previous airport authority meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that takes us right up to Susan.
Okay, So I don't know if you had a chance to look at the accounts payable. Everything's pretty normal, but we did have some PFAS expense for the investigation. I just need you to approve those, and then we did have one payment for the Fund 481 that you'll have to approve too.
Okay, so we have two things to approve then.
Yep.
Okay.
So you have the AP, say for the airport, and then AP for the capital improvement fund.
Do we have any motions?
Just real quick, can you remind me what the ADB Safegate is? I know I should know that, but I just can't remember. It's the first line on the AP.
That is, they are one of the two vendors we have for runway signs.
Oh, okay.
And that was an item that came up in our inspections this year, that our
Okay.
signs were getting faded, so we're going through and slowly trying to replace them.
Okay.
The first ones, because we know we're going to replace them all in the next couple of years as part of our construction, so we don't wanna waste money. But if they're at a point now where the inspector is saying you gotta do
We
something.
must, okay.
I'm assuming that PFAS with Prina Newhoff is, kind of the end of the road and getting caught up, because something actually happened here in recent days.
We're under, a $200,000 contract for that. That was last year's grant cycle. And they're probably 3/4 of the way through on that. So we'll be seeing monthly
From Prina Newhoff for a while.
So that process is probably a year from now before it's completely done. They've done the well work, and the last couple things are basically coming out here every few months, pulling from the wells and then testing and monitoring, so.
We need a motion for
Yes.
pay the accounts payable,
Mm-hmm.
so moved.
I'll second. Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Ms. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Becker? Ms. Goodman? Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
And Adam Nutt.
And the other one here?
Capital improvement.
Mhm.
Just need a motion to approve the capital improvement fund.
I'd make a motion to approve the capital improvement fund.
Mr. Egan?
Yes.
Ms. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Becker? Ms. Goodman? Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
And Adam Nutt. And then, did anybody have any questions on the revenue or expenditure report, or on the trial balance? And I would just need you to approve those, and then also there's the, letting you know where you're at with that grant, the $58,000. And then, how often do you submit for reimbursement for that?
Let me check.
Okay. Because I did book a receivable for the July, that part of it,
Okay.
so like 48,000 maybe, or
We've
something like that.
been kind of doing it once
Okay,
at the end of the grant, but I think we can do it more frequently,
yeah,
so.
okay. Okay, so I would just need you guys to approve those.
So last year this time, and the whole year, I think, maintenance and cost of repairs and maintenance was like a delightful, frequent topic of conversation, I think. And that was largely to do with a couple of our trucks and I can't remember what else.
Mhm.
It looks like we're trending like much healthier, year to date. Is that kind of what I'm seeing? At least as of,
Are you trying to jinx me? Yes, I believe we are. It's fortunately been a mild winter, so that reduces a lot of wear and tear on all of our equipment. So, knock on wood, yes, is what I've been hoping for the last couple of years, but I've been wrong the last few years on that, so.
is our new, do we get a new, truck?
Yeah. Yes.
Plow truck? Right?
Not a big one, they
Yeah.
put a plow on a Dodge.
Okay.
Our small pickup, which was basically used for the park,
Mhm.
yes.
Have we had to use it yet?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, good.
Is there a motion on this one?
Not yet.
Not yet.
We were talking about this. Anything else, Melissa?
Gas and oil, no expenditures to date, is that, do we get like a big invoice later?
Whenever it gets it in Blarney Castle since the
Yeah,
bill.
we've got a tank on site, so it's really.
Oh, okay, oh, that's what that
Bill
is,
it.
okay, got it. Okay, I guess I don't have anything.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
So moved, approve the revenues and expenses. December.
Second?
Mr. Egan,
Yes.
Ms. Lasky.
Yes.
Mr. Downs,
Yes.
Mr. Becker, Ms. Goodman, Ms. Kaminsky.
Yes.
And Adam Downs. My only other thing is, can I just do the audit thing real
Mhm.
quick?
Sure.
Okay. So, the county went ahead and approved Gaybridge and Company for the next 3 years for the audit. I asked them to put something together, that was in your packet, for the next 3 years, so that way we'd know what to expect. I just need the board's approval to have, Lisa, have to sign this?
I think whoever the board authorizes.
To have Barry Lynn sign the proposal for the next 3 years for Gabriel and Company, so we can get them on board to do the audit for the next 3 years. It's the same company that the county just, authorized to do, so he put together a proposal for me for years, just so we'll know what they are.
What's the name of that company?
Gabriel?
Gambridge.
Cambridge, yeah.
I will make a motion to approve Gaybridge and Company for audit
And,
purposes for the next 3 fiscal years, starting in 2023 through 2025,
and to have Mr. Lynn sign.
and to have Mr. Lynn sign.
I'll second.
Mr. Egan,
Yes.
Ms. Lasky,
Yes.
Jeff Downs,
Yes.
Mr. Becker, Ms. Goodman, Ms. Kaminsky,
Yes.
and Adam Downs. And that's it for me.
All right. We didn't have any committees meet after the, last meeting.
Do you want to talk through the rest of the financial report?
Oh, I thought we were done with that, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Oh, we did?
Yeah,
Okay,
we're done.
sorry.
You're
I
good. No,
Okay.
we're
didn't
good.
know we went through the trial balance.
Yeah.
Yep, all of that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, I retract my apology.
No, fine. I'm behind here on the Zoom, so.
It's all right. Committee reports, now this is where, we have not had any committee meetings since that last, capital, committee meeting back in December. But we also don't have our committee set for the upcoming year. So, now might be a good time to, think about who wants to be on what committee. I have a copy here, what committees people were on last year. Also, before we get too far into it, we had talked about reigniting the bylaws committee, just to go over a couple of things. And, so I'd like to add that to our committees. We have a budget committee, the capital projects committee, I think needs to still be lit up, the executive committee, and a bylaws committee. And I think for that bylaws committee, we really need, either you or Karen one on that.
She's much better at that program than myself.
She is officially on the committee. The budget committee right now is me, Cynthia, and Andrew was on that committee.
Change out, change out.
Yep.
I mean, Adam's in.
So, Adam,
Unless you feel neglected.
congratulations,
Me?
Adam.
No, no.
Well, the budget, yeah, you were on the, capital,
Yeah,
and you were on the executive.
yeah. Oh, I see it.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay. So, Adam,
Who's on it? Mr. Egan and
For the budget committee, Cynthia, you okay with staying on that?
Yep,
All
I'm
right.
good with that.
So it's me, Cindy, and Adam. For the capital projects, Alyssa, do you want to stay on that?
I
Project.
don't mind.
Because remember, we also have George Becker as
Mhm.
well, to put on something here. So if now's the
I'm
time
happy to-
move, now's the time to move around if you'd like to, move anything around. But I'm giving you first dibs on this.
I don't really have a preference, I'll be honest. I'm happy to relinquish participation, so Adam or George could have a go.
I think there's another, committee that deals with the flight service. Is that true?
We don't have a committee for that. Generally, that is just discussed at the full board level.
Okay, sounds good. I misread.
We're planning on having a special work session to focus on that, but as a full board.
Yeah, we're
Okay,
going to
very
talk
good.
about down here, ladies and new business.
Thank you.
All right, so the capital projects committee, Alyssa, would you be on the bylaw committee?
Sure.
Okay, good. Alyssa. Okay, and so that inputs, we'll put George on capital projects.
On the capital, that's Mr. Becker.
Okay, that'll be me, George Becker, and we'll keep Karen Goodman
Okay.
on that. The executive committee, Jeff, you okay with that?
Mhm.
Thanks. Alyssa,
Sure.
good, and me. So Mike, Alyssa, and Jeff on the executive.
Okay, and then just Ms. Goodman and Ms. Lasky on the bylaws?
Right, along with me, yes.
Okay.
All right, so that gets that together. And also, I'll mention this at a couple more meetings when everybody's here, but whatever your contact preference is, when we get the, airport authority new roster out in the next few weeks, if there's something different, if an email has changed, if you prefer to get a text from me, that's the easiest thing. You know, like for myself, this 2002 phone number, if you call that phone number, you'll wind up leaving a message that I might or might not get, because we're officially this week crossing 1 year since we got to live in our house.
Wow.
So, yeah, a big project that has ballooned. And so, that's the old landline. So, but you can get hold of me with the other phone, but leave a text. But anyway, at some point, just let me know what the easiest way to get in touch with people is, because sometimes it's hard to do
I
that.
could just ask, Kristen did that.
Mhm.
Is that something you would do?
Or a new person would love to do that.
I'll do that. If you can get me the old version so that I can
Template,
edit, I can,
Okay.
so
Tim,
get any information then to me, and I will produce that in a few weeks.
Okay, everybody got that?
Yeah.
Okay, if you need help with that, I can help with that as well. All right, so I believe that takes care of the committees. Anything else that I missed, blew over? All right, Barry, you're up. Timeline on hiring someone new, do you know?
It's not.
it's on a holding pattern.
That's up to date.
Enough said. Okay.
In the process.
I gotcha.
So, in a section that I normally don't have anything to mention, airport incidents and accidents, we had an incident, wouldn't find it as an accident, but on 12/30, so the Saturday of New Year's weekend, as the Cape Air flight was taxiing down the taxiway, so they were not on the runway, they were on the taxiway. Basically, a wheel came off of the aircraft. Yes, that was a clunk, and no one was hurt or anything. They were only going about maybe 10 miles an hour at the most, taxi situation. We were well-equipped with spare aircraft. The flight got concluded with aircraft, and, you know, the airplane itself got removed from the taxiway. Since then, Cape Air has introduced a couple mandatory inspections of all of the aircraft, because I think this is the second time this has happened in Cape Air systems, so there's some sort of...
On Technums?
On Technums, yes. Some sort of issue, so they've implemented a new protocol to inspect and address that. And we had a couple flights delayed as a result of that because of the inspection prior to...
Well, I assume there's only 3 tires.
Yes.
There are.
And let me ask you this, did it come off of, the hub bolts, or did it come off due to lack of nuts hanging on?
I'm not sure,
Well, so
honestly, but you've maybe talked to more people about the details than I have.
I really haven't, but I do know that if it was a structural issue, there probably would be an airworthiness directive from the manufacturer, from Tecnam, would have put something out on that plane, and you can't mess with those. I mean, once an AD comes out, you have to comply with that.
Right.
And if they haven't put anything out, it might have been a nut not tightened up, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just pure speculation. Good question. I hadn't heard that that it happened another time with another taxi.
So that was a few extra phone calls I had on that day. Then, moving on to kind of more of the mundane, our enplanement numbers. I have the wrong numbers here. Somehow, the last month's numbers. So, in December, total of 764 passengers, you see is a good bump from previous years, as I was expecting. Overall, the load factor was 78%, which is 1 percentage point shy of their best load factor since they've been providing service. So, and what I've witnessed and also had confirmed in conversations with Andrew Bonney is that Cape Air generally, anything north of 75% capacity on average across a month is about the maximum they can do, or the maximum they see in practice. So being at 78%, we were, slightly above that. And, seeing how it developed through the month, I mean, there was at one point, 13 days in a row where every inbound flight was sold out. It ended up, as we progressed through that, there were a couple cancellations, so not every flight ended up being sold out at one point. So we were really at capacity in December. And that shows what, with the current schedule and capacity that Cape Air is flying, that's about the most passengers we can do in December. And I've got some other slides in a little bit that'll kind of put that into context of kind of how good is that versus other years. And then on the, performance side of things, that 1% cancellation, there was one flight that I'll call half canceled. If you live on this side of town, there was a power outage one evening from about 5:30 till 7:30, which is, our flight is scheduled to come in at 6:30. So our flight was scheduled to come in the middle. We were without power. It's night. You can't land without runway lights. So they ended up having to divert to Muskegon, and then basically they get Cape Air arranged ground transportation to get the passengers from Muskegon up here. So technically, they did not land here, so I counted as a cancellation, even though flight left Chicago and the passengers eventually got here, so. But that was the only canceled flight for the month. A little bit higher on the delays. Some of those, were weather-related. They're mostly short durations, like half-hour delays, not 2-3 hour type delays. Nothing really that significant, and we tend to see more delays in the winter because of the icing and other things related to things that happen more so in the winter than the rest of the year. Overall, though, very good, especially compared to where they've been previous years in December. Any questions on any of that? Okay. Affairs too. So here we have current airfares, and not much has changed from what we had last month. The deltas are very small, averages as compared to last month. The biggest delta was Grand Rapids, a little bit more expensive than others, but kind of the pattern we saw last month is still holding, with, in general, remarkably good fares out of Traverse City for this time of year. In fact, if you then take in the parking, Grand Rapids didn't come out as the best airport or the cheapest airport in any of the 20 markets that I look at. Traverse City dominated because they have slightly cheaper parking rates than Grand Rapids, and then we came in with kind of the remainder. But we don't, if you discount parking and just look at base airfare, we're okay, but we are a little bit more expensive right now, with the exception of Chicago, and this month, for some reason, Atlanta American was pricing very well out of here, but not Traverse City. Any questions on airfares? Okay. I know what I did. I saved this for version. There it is. So capital projects, there's no updates on this slide. We're still haven't heard anything from MDOT on our ALP final approval, and that's just the list of projects that Mead and Hunt will be working on. We have a contract with Mead and Hunt later on the agenda to do the design work for all these projects, and all I got to say there. So since we're a first meeting of the year, I wanted to pull together just a couple slides that just kind of put in perspective how 2023 was as compared to previous years. So this is top 10 air passenger years from basically since the beginning of service here, which was in 1962 through 2023. And you'll see that Cape Air's this past year, they were number 2, with only being eclipsed by the Frontier partial year of 2011, when Frontier provided service for 8 months of that year, and Great Lakes the other 4. You'll see that in the 3 complete years that Cape Air has been providing service here, they're number 2, 3, and 5 in the list. Our previous carrier is number 4, and then 7 and 8. And then you jump back 50 years, and you basically see some of the good numbers from the early days of air service here back in the late 60s with North Central Airlines providing service, and those were the numbers back then. So Cape Air is doing well compared to our recent carriers, and with the exception of Frontier, they're capable of providing better numbers than we've seen in the past. So that's kind of just an overall snapshot of commercial air service, and then it's a little bit harder to judge general aviation side of things. So I've got my next 2 slides really just look at fuel sales, which are kind of an indirect measure of the amount of activity, because when aircraft come in here, they often buy fuel, but not always, depending on where they're coming from. As fuel gets more expensive and a larger part of their operating budget, they really look around and buy fuel at the cheapest price from the cheapest airport that they can find. Whereas it used to be customary that you realize you're doing a service to the airport, so you would always buy fuel if you could. That is less the case. So we see here on the jet fuel sale side that over the last 10 years, generally we're seeing an increase from the 30,000 gallon a year range now into the 40,000 gallon a year range. 2021 was kind of a remarkable year. It was the post-COVID pent-up travel demand where a lot of people didn't feel comfortable flying commercially in, close proximity to a lot of people, so there was a lot of fall over into general aviation as being a safer means of travel, and we definitely saw that that summer in particular. So we didn't grow 2022 to 2023, but overall it's not much of a difference. And another factor here that kind of plays into this is when a jet comes in here, they have the option of, we charge a landing and handling fee, but that fee is waived if they purchase fuel. So also looking at the number of landing fees that were paid this past year, there was actually more than in 2022. So that probably offsets that decrease in fuel sales, just more people decided to pay the fee than to buy fuel. So it's about a wash, in my opinion, where we see our jet fuel sales today. But overall, the jet activity has increased over the last decade and certainly over the last 2 decades. Then we go over to aviation gasoline. So this is the fuel that non-jets use, so basically all of the small general aviation equipment. And here the trend is pretty much the opposite. We're seeing a general decline in general aviation, small avgas related traffic coming to our airports over time. And if I go back 30 years, it's even much more dramatic than 10. Last year was the lowest year on the last 10, and the previous year, 2022, was probably better than the trend, but, we definitely saw a little bit of a fall off this past year. And again,
Gary?
it's a continuing trend. Yes.
Do we want our air service, we
Mhm.
want that. Do we market for others to fly in? You know, I mean, is that something to do?
Generally, airports don't
Yeah.
market to the general aviation community because it's a small and declining community. So
Mhm.
part of what we're seeing here is a nationwide trend. The average age of a general aviation pilot, much like the average age of a golfer, is increasing, and just a lot of people are no longer flying.
I know my
so-
brother-in-law would fly in here to go to events in Wisconsin. I mean, they'd have these different events that, you know,
Right.
they put together.
So that is one thing that airports with a good local base of pilots, which I would say we don't yet have, although I think things are happening in a positive direction on that front. They often organize pancake breakfasts
Right.
and things
Right.
that just, are meant to be things to fly to and do,
That's what they do.
with your expensive plane.
Yeah. Down in Tennessee, and, you know,
Yep.
they all go to the airport and have their
Yep.
once a month, breakfast thing
Mhm.
at the club.
And those are generally, while the airport participates, it's generally not organized at the airport. That's really more of the club, the community of local pilots who are volunteering and doing the effort to make those events happen. We don't right now have big enough community to pull that off.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, but I
Air
think
uses what fuel?
that's,
Okay,
you
so,
took it right out of my mouth here.
and I thank you for pointing that out. So in my title here, I'm saying retail, and that excludes airline. So, because we've, in the past, had jets, so that would have bumped those numbers up. So Cape Air's avgas fuel sales is probably around 75,000 gallons. So they completely dominate, but this is really just a measure of kind of general aviation activity, not airline-based. But thank you I had meant to mention that and forgot when I was going through this. Good point to make sure I brought up. So yes, airline is excluded out of both the avgas and the jet in the relevant years.
And Karen, the local pilot community, I think as we upgrade these hangars out here, I think we're gonna see more and more people. I met a guy who just moved his plane here from Muskegon, I forget his name, down that way. And, but I saw him fighting the doors open and close, and
Yeah.
he had put up a net in there to keep the pigeons off his plane. So,
Sure.
as we upgrade, I think
Yeah.
we might see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that's an important factor in airport, of course, our primary thing is,
Right.
transportation, but it's like, I wasn't sure if that is a
Well-
good accent for any small airport, or,
It is a factor from a funding standpoint, a lot of our focus ends up ultimately being driven by funding.
Sure.
So right now, we get $150,000 a year, in base funds, from, say, capital projects. That funding you get by either having commercial air service, so we check that off, or by, under the current rules, having 10 aircraft that are based here. We don't currently meet that criteria.
Right.
So if we were to lose commercial air service, as we stand right now, we would get zero a year and have $20 million of assets that we're obligated to upkeep for a period of 20 years with no funding to do it. So for airports that don't have commercial air service, they do everything they can to make sure that they have at least 10 aircraft based there. so that they get that minimal level of funding. And things like having a pilot community that's engaged are tools to then get those pilots to base their airplanes there. So it all plays together, yes.
Might be something we could get into a committee meeting about though sometime. I would certainly entertain at least, you know, kicking it around. I don't think we can take meeting time to do that, but let's keep that fire burning.
It'd be kinda cool.
Alyssa, you talked about that as well, and we just never really got around to getting together and kicking around, so I think the genesis of an idea is already sitting there smoldering, so.
And I'll tie this into what Adam touched on earlier, is he was asking if there was a committee for commercial air service. Often airports have committees for general aviation to basically think about these things. And not traditionally done,
Yeah.
but it's kind of.
Great.
Any questions? Okay, the, top 5 Decembers, I already talked about Cape performance, but just kind of seeing where their number, 764, falls into kind of top 5 Decembers. They're number 2, and this is the best Cape Air December by far. Their previous 2 Decembers here don't even make the top 5, for all from our previous year. So they did well, they are at capacity, and their numbers are slightly higher than our previous carrier was. Even though I would say that Cape Air has benefits over our previous carrier, with some caveats to that. But we're not able to come near where Frontier was. And I don't have the November numbers here to kind of compare, but the previous carriers, and even Frontier, December was, Frontier, a better month than November. You've got holidays in both, but kind of Christmas, New Year's holiday season kind of spreads throughout the month, and depending on college, there tends to be a lot of activity, whereas Thanksgiving is just a weekend in November. Frontier did better in December than they did in November. Cape Air in November did close to 1,200 passengers, and in December they're doing 760.
And the schedule started cutting back when?
November 29th. So that was my point, was gonna be, is that Cape Air had basically twice the flights in November, and that allowed them.
And Frontier had how many more seats?
Practically an order of magnitude more, but.
And they used to run, there used to be a bunch of people from Ludington that would come up here, 'cause they used to run a Christmas shopping down in Chicago, a special, whatever, Frontier used to do that years ago.
So anyway, I'm seeding you with some thoughts that when we talk more about air service and what it is we're looking, that are factors in, I think, what our decision process or.
Just a weird question again.
Yes.
2011, 1472. Wasn't that right after
That was Frontier. That's, we had,
9/11?
no, that was a decade after now.
9/11 was 01.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking at 11, and it's like, 9/11, wow, yeah. Where did that decade go? I am having a rough month. It's only 8 days.
Yeah, oh gosh.
My next slide is January's looking, to be on track. No canceled flights so far. Weather is certainly cooperating in not canceling flights because of weather, and I'm hearing that may change later this
Say,
week.
I saw cancellations starting up because of Tuesday and Wednesday's storm.
Yeah, so we'll see how this, but that is winter, that's
Mm-hmm.
in Michigan, where they have those days. Advanced bookings are still trailing, but again, this is what I've now seen for a number of months in a row, and the end result is that we are flying more passengers. It's just that they're booking closer in than they were a year ago or 2 years ago. And the only thing new here I have is last week I had a conversation with the Muskegon airport manager, and the original feedback he was getting from DOT is that DOT was immediately gonna go out for a rebid and cancel their current contract. After DOT talked to their lawyers, that has changed, and now they are going to ask the current carrier there, Southern, to come up with a improvement plan, and if they don't improve, then they will take the actions that they were originally talking about. So, I don't know what that means from a time frame. The manager is completely skeptical that that will do anything other than delay the inevitable for his fear a significant amount of time, but I understand why DOT wants to go through a process that allows someone to come back into compliance with their contract. So that was the update there, and as I've talked about, our RFP for our new EAS contract, which starts October 1st, and if you start working back, and I did this with Mike last week, that RFP needs to go out in February or March at the latest, to allow responses and community input, and then selection, and then time for, if there is a new carrier, for them to actually start selling tickets and get equipment and everything wrapped up, people hired, et cetera. So generally, 6 or more months in advance is when DOT will release that, so that is coming up for us quickly. And again, we've been talking the last couple of months about scheduling a work session. I would like us to do that sooner rather than later, so that when that RFP hits the streets, we're ready to basically communicate, to identify who we may be targeting as carriers we want to try to attract, and what to tell them as far as what we're looking for. So I don't know if you wanna try to, how you, Mike, you wanna
We can do that.
schedule that?
We can do that right now, or we can wait down, under new business, we have to schedule the 2024 meetings. And,
Well, this is a special one, let's get that one.
okay, let's go ahead and do that now then. I do have, a few dates from Adam that he sent me, here, the 18th, 19th. There are a couple of them that I can't do, 22, 26, 29. If anyone else wants to, start the bidding here.
So what ones can't you do?
I cannot do 22, 26. This is January
So
now.
the 18th, 19th, and 29th.
18, 19, and 29. I can do the afternoon of the 18th, 19th, and 29th are okay for
How
me.
about 29? End of the month tends to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. It'd be closer to the next meeting too. It'd be nice to have that still in my mind.
29 is okay for me. Yeah, I think I'm good.
Or-
Too.
Oh, we got
Whoa,
that.
got a
wait.
quorum. Yeah, there it is.
What time?
That's,
You wanna go at noon? Does that work for everybody? I mean, I can go any time, but noon is the easy time to remember, 'cause we're kinda hardwired to show up here at that time. Good deal.
said I'll encourage people not to talk to me before I head out the door.
We just need to make sure that George
Yeah,
knows about that.
yep.
Okay, then, that is the end of my report.
All right, good deal. All right, anything else of Barry? I think we pretty much kind of took it as it came up. All right, anything with the sheriff's department?
Yes, so I have a completed agreement with the sheriff. We are both signed, so that is completed and can be removed in future meetings.
Okay, and what is this auto insurance?
So that's just airport insurance in general. So, I met with Lisa Segala last week, and she and I kind of talked through this. And I'm now, she was kind of being an intermediary between me and the
MMRMA.
I'm now talking directly to them. And where we are on this is they aren't in a position to take on all of our insurance needs. So, for example, they don't do pollution liability because we have underground storage tanks. That's a required item from the state. That's not that big a deal because even under our current agent, that's a separate insurance policy. But they also don't cover aviation liability. And at this point, I'm still trying to get a clear definition as to what that means. Because under our current policy, we just have a liability that covers all cases. So we'd have to somehow split that out into property-related liability and then aviation-related liability, depending on how they define that. So I'm working through that. Our renewals come up later this month. So here's, I guess, what I'm requesting of the board is to authorize myself and working with Lisa to, once we get proposals from both sides, to, assuming that we can save money, and that it makes sense to the two of us, that you would authorize me to choose, with Lisa's input, the policy that makes the most sense based on her and my understanding of things. That makes sense.
Well, our current insurer is,
Auto Owners basically carries all of the liability and property, and there's a couple other pieces. So McCready is our agency, and they pull together all of that for us.
is this something that we generally go out for bids on?
We generally don't.
Haven't,
We have not.
Probably ought to put it out for bids and see what MMR can do for us, MMR.
Well, that is what we're
That
doing
down.
now,
Yeah.
is we're going through that process.
Okay.
So you're saying you will go out for bid, where in the past you have not?
Have not in the past, and I'm working to get a bid for at least the pieces that MMRMA will provide.
Just for people, for clarification, it's Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority.
Well, my question is, my question is, why don't you bid out the piece that the government agency cannot provide through Auto Owners?
I can ask McCready to do that as well.
I mean, I wouldn't think it needs to be done every year, but every 3, 4, 5 years, some reasonable period of time.
like, Gay Bridge for the audit, you know. Okay, are we good on that then?
Well, we need a motion to, authorize Barry to do that
That's
negotiation.
our policy.
Well, you don't need a motion to author,
Well, except that our.
unless you're acting and signing a document.
Well, but our policies expire before our next board meeting. So action will need to be taken before our next board meeting.
Could that be added to the meeting on the 29th?
That is after our policy would expire. That's why I was requesting that, based on my working with Lisa Sagala, that, I would provide my input and hers.
What's the date the policy expires, Barry?
21st.
Well,
Go on, Adam.
I was gonna say, I don't have any trouble if, the board votes. I know I can't vote on this, but I just think it'd be nice if we could go out for bid over the next couple of weeks, 14 and 8. Yeah, I guess you don't even have 2 weeks to go out to bid. I don't know if you can get a bid back, depending how complicated your policy is and the amount of time you have left on the clock.
I'm sure we can.
Okay. Great.
I will have that conversation this afternoon.
All right, would the motion be inclined to allow the, chair and the airport manager the authority to sign new policy? Talking low bid?
Here's what I would recommend is either our current or lower. So it allows some flexibility to weigh things other than price.
Right.
But not anything more than what we would have by default paid.
They might have a better package, but
Gonna have to be, I guess, because it's gonna be done by the 21st, so.
I'll second that motion.
That clear as mud, Susan?
Oh, am I supposed to figure that out? That's not my job duties.
That's what he does
I'm
up
gonna
in the
say
chair
right now.
seat.
Sorry.
So the motion would be?
Sorry, Mr. Secretary, I don't understand. I understand, I got it.
Okay.
I'm just messing with you a little today. I have a support from Ms. Goodman.
Yes.
Let me do a roll call on that. Mr. Egan.
Yes.
Ms. Lasky.
Yes.
Jeff Dodds.
Yes,
Mr. Becker. Ms. Goodman.
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky.
Yes.
Okay, and Adam Dodds. Okay.
There we go. All right, so that takes us now to new business. I, read through that tome you sent us from, that was real good reading.
better man than me.
So, let me put that into context because there's a point that I think is important to consider is these are our first contracts with Mead and Hunt.
Mhm.
We've, with our previous consultant, Brina Newhoff, we generally didn't run these routine contracts through legal. I felt because this is the first contracts with Mead and Hunt that we should. So they've been submitted to George. He got back to me that he is looking at them, but he has not gotten back to me any feedback. So I believe any action we should take should be pending his input into that decision. George Saylor is the airport attorney, for those that may not know that.
Yeah. So we're just waiting for George to go through all of that then?
we have
We
Is that
can
the
approve
gist of
them
what I-
pending, or,
Well,
there's different ways to handle this, so.
do we have a deadline on George?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he got back to me and said he was looking at them, so that was actually encouraging, because usually it's much more of a, don't hear anything.
Well,
I
to
know
me,
he's
the,
not doing the city anymore.
the decision was to go to meet and hunt, so now it's just a matter of the fine lines.
Yeah.
Dot the I, cross the T, and sign the contracts. And is there anything exceptionally different, I mean, other than the volume of papers?
Well, they're long contracts, so I can't say that there aren't terms in there that that he may object to, or want changed. I doubt it, but because these tend to be standard as to what
I was just gonna say, so,
across.
yeah, what I've learned is we can go with these different consultancy firms, but at the end of the day, the RFP, it's the same because it's the industry, their ability to respond, 99% of what they can say is the same because of so is this like effectively a boilerplate
Probably
template? Yeah.
Mostly is, but again, I don't feel comfortable entering into something that's not
Yeah.
my expertise without, for the first time, having legal review it.
I do like the idea, even if we heard, hey, I'm looking at it. We've all probably done that. You got an email and, hey, I got it, I'm looking at it, but
Yeah.
you're not really looking at much?
Yeah, no, and with George in particular, there's a history there, so.
Yeah,
Can-
maybe.
Can we set a deadline for George?
Yes.
I'm respectful of your point, Barry. If you want legal
Yeah.
review, I think that's prudent. Just give George a deadline. He's providing a service to us.
Correct.
So this is something we could table until our special meeting, or we could, I'd rather get this executed sooner rather than later, but they're doing the work without a contract in place, just because that's what's necessary. This is in some ways a formality, but it's
The
important.
contract has language that covers us still, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. And it's important to ultimately have this in place if anything goes wrong.
Right.
You never look at it if everything goes smoothly, it's
Mhm.
when things go wrong, so.
Mhm. Only 90 pages, so.
Well, we can make a motion to approve pending review from the attorney.
Well,
What's the
Well,
date?
with the date, yeah.
Yeah, we need a date,
By the
because it needs to
29th.
be,
right.
29.
Before we show up to the meeting. Why don't we give, George a date a few days prior to when we meet? So that if he blows our deadline, he's still got a couple of days and Barry can call and say, we're meeting on the 29th and we want to approve it then.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Give it a try.
might be surprised.
I know he's not doing the city anymore, so that was a big,
How about,
and he's not
Wednesday,
doing the
the
housing commission. either.
24th?
Okay.
Gives them 2 weeks plus. Is that your motion?
I don't think we need a motion, do we?
No, I think we're kind of tabling it
Okay.
to that time, aren't we?
So there's no harm, like, let's say we do hear back, don't expect to, let's say we do hear back, and it's, hey, it all looks good before the 29th. Could we just move forward, or should we wait until the 29th?
We-
Like, is there harm in
I
waiting
mean-
if,
I don't
if
think there's any harm.
No, we're not doing anything.
We're
Okay.
covered,
Okay.
under the old contract until we can do the new one.
Well,
Okay.
no, there is no
Yeah.
existing contract.
Because it's a new
firm.
firm? To me, it feels like they're moving forward in good faith,
Yes, they are.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
So you'll reach out to George and ask that?
Oh, yes,
we-
yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's A and B under new business.
Mhm.
We already did C.
Yep. So now I think it's just the, meeting schedule that was sent out. Change that last one, 2025, and I think that's it.
I knew there was something I was gonna type wrong in there.
That's all right. Well, that looks good.
So do we need a motion to approve it, or no? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
Was that a motion?
that was a motion,
Okay.
so I move to approve the proposed, 2024 meeting calendar. That's written in Appendix A.
And again, just so everyone knows, it's third Monday with the exception of January and February, which
Mhm.
are
Yeah.
the second Monday because of
Mhm.
holidays.
Mhm.
Second, I don't have a problem.
Mr. Egan?
Yep.
Ms. Lasky?
Yeah.
Jeff Downs?
Yes.
Mr. Becker? Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Item done.
All right. Whew. Busy meeting. All right, anything else? Good of the cause, comments? Questions?
When you, reach out to George for help, what is is there like a retainer, or like, is it hourly?
It's hourly.
Okay.
If we go back, I'd say 10 years ago, the board wanted him at every meeting, so he attended every authority meeting
Mhm.
and would provide input and
Mhm.
was very responsive because we were regularly engaged.
Yeah.
But that was costing a significant amount for that privilege of having that, kind of level of engagement.
Mhm.
So to save money, we basically said, well, we'll call you when necessary,
Yeah.
and you know, there hasn't been much over the last few years for us
Yeah.
with him on, so it's been rare that we needed to reach out to him. I think the last time we worked with him was when Mike or it was probably even before Mike,
I never have worked with him on anything.
and it was Barry Peterson, and I met with him talking through some of the, zoning things with the
Yeah.
township.
You wouldn't know where. We're on record.
Yeah, we're on record.
Not nowhere, I mean, they've done some of the things.
Good.
So I'm okay with where things stand there.
All right, other comments I have, Karen, we put you on the bylaws committee, so
Okay.
you'll enjoy that. And, let's see, and the other thing was, if anyone, again, has a different way that they would like to be contacted, please let Barry know, and we'll get that put together, and I'd like that as quick as I can, so I can get in touch with people. And I have I wrote down what all the committees are, so we can do that after the meeting. That's all from me. Anyone else?
My personal preference is a text, but if it's business, obviously it needs to be email. I respond to whatever and everything, but if you need me quick, a
Yeah.
text is by far the best.
Yeah, you.
Same
yeah,
with
text-
me.
You probably found that from me too.
Same with me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I
Text would
miss
be
my
much
email.
quicker.
Yeah, the text.
Yeah, text would be much quicker.
Okay.
I mean, I
Yeah.
check my emails,
I
but I'm
think-
on emails all day through work, so sometimes I don't get to my personal for
So
a day to a week,
I
yeah.
think then the key thing is for those that have multiple numbers listed, which
Mhm.
one is the texting number?
Right.
Is the important thing.
That might be me.
Right. Well, Karen, I have 2 emails for you that I usually send it to both of
Send
them.
from. Yeah.
That's way low. She has way more than that.
Well, I just have the.
I just don't look at about 4 of them.
Okay.
Centra and the Goody one, those are the 2.
Okay, that, it's not on this
Oh.
document here at all. It's just in my Gmail account. But if we can get that updated, just send that straight to Barry, and I'll do the same thing.
Like the preference?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, like this 2002 number up here for me is no good until, at which time we might be able to move back into our house.
No.
Yeah.
So does Brandon need to be at the meeting on the 29th?
Do you want him there?
I
don't think he needs to be.
Okay, that's
But,
fine.
I
I'm
mean,
just asking.
He has been involved in the past, but
He's our marketer.
Yeah, he's,
Okay.
Do you feel like you've got a good point of view, on, like thoughts Brandon might have, or maybe if he's not gonna be there, then we could reach out to him to see if he has any input on, like, if the meeting is, what are we gonna be looking for, he might, somebody
If
who's
you want me,
willing
I
to
can
do this,
invite
that,
him.
the other thing.
I
I don't know if there, I mean, there will be so much probably we discussed that's got absolutely nothing to do with him.
but he's been involved in that level of conversation in the past, so.
Well, I get it, he's been
So-
involved, but is there value in him being involved?
Well, the concept of that is market, but at the end of the day as well, 'cause we've always steered to Chicago historically because of the dollars that have been spent in that market. Whether right, wrong, or indifferent, so
Mhm.
if we even contemplate making any changes to the markets, again, things change.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so what do we think? Should we invite Brandon, or no?
It isn't
Why
gonna
not?
hurt. It's an open meeting.
Why not, yeah.
Then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe.
yeah.
Anything else? Well,
Adam, you have anything?
Go on.
he already adjourned?
Might have
Already
checked
there.
No,
out.
I'm here. I just had it on mute.
Oh,
I'm all set. Thanks, folks.
Very difficult to mute it down, so I'm just saying.
That is very-
And with that statement, I think we can adjourn.
Oh, I thought we were gonna take a roll call on it.
No.